Welcome.
Ooh.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Creatives Chat. Join us as creative minds get together and chat about who knows what. We shall begin our show now. Streaming from Retro Earth Studio and brought to you by We Are Storically, Conscious Brand Apparel. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creatives Chat. I'm Rusty.
I'm Peter.
Hi, Peter. How you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm all set for a great show. Who have we got lined up?
Ooh, I am incredibly excited, Rusty. We have the amazingly talented Darrius Willrich. He's a singer-songwriter, amazing voice, amazing jazz pianist. He's a teacher. He's a healer. He's an overall just dope spiritual being. So let's get him on the show.
I saw him years ago at the Hard Rock Cafe when he was in the Michael versus Prince band, and he was singing both Michael's part and Prince's part. The guy is phenomenal.
Yo, oh, I can't wait, man, because those that don't know, he's also the piano player for Digible Planets.
Ooh.
So it's like,
right.
yo, the classics, like, let's get it.
Without further ado, everybody, meet Darrius.
Oh, Darrius, I'm so excited to have you on, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. Absolutely.
Well,
Glad
let's
to be
just
here.
get right into it, man, because I know I mean, personally, I love every album. I've been diving deep into like the discography and just listening to all your different
Nice.
works. For those of you that don't know, all of our listeners, you're the piano player for Digible Planets. Now, that's just like, come on, let's be real. If you don't know them, let's just think of that bass line. And then if you don't know the line, it's like, we beat a rap, what key beat a lock? That should really spark your gears. So
It's good stuff.
and the thing that's really funny about this is I actually know your face. I was like, when Rusty were talking about who we're going to have on this week, I was like, you know what? I looked you up. I was like, I know him. And then I remembered, I was like, oh, I remember watching the KEXP when you guys were in Iceland. And he was just like, yeah. And then Butterfly was like, come on, D, set it up. And I was like, oh, that's Darrius. That's Darrius.
That's awesome. Oh, wow. What a fun time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how's your international experience been with music?
Really just amazing. It's such a trip to festivals are, to me, mind-blowing. Just because it's amazing. Like, there's like usually like 10 of us, there's the people that play, and then there's like a manager or something. But it's like, it is amazing the amount of money people have to fly us to these remote locations for like one show. Like we would like maybe fly for like 10 hours to play for 1 hour. And they'll put us up, and like it's like, whoa. But it's also amazing, and even like I remember we were like, I don't know where we were in the US though. We were just at a show. We had a show in like, I think, Boston, and then we got like some last minute booking at some festival in Atlanta. So it was such a trip. They flew us down. That's like 9, 10 people. This plane tickets, hotel accommodations for us to play for 30 minutes, and literally rushed us off. Like, wow. I mean, it was fun and it was beautiful, but I just sometimes it's staggering. Like, wow, some people say there's not money in music, but somebody's got some money. Like, oh my God, this is such a trip. Like, we just literally got flown down here to play for 30 minutes. That's so
And then now you get a dope vacation out of it because then you're
Yeah.
in Atlanta. Like,
Yeah, and that show is like, it was like us and I feel bad because he was really great. I hadn't really heard of him, but then he was really great. I'm just drawing a blank. But then it was like Erykah Badu played like right after him. Like, she was the headliner. Like, they flew us up for 30 minutes. It was so great though. So fun, so accommodating. They were really nice to us, which just blows my mind. Same thing, like being flown to Roskilde Denmark to play for like 1 hour. Like, really? Like the trip was almost 2 days. You know, I mean, it felt like it. It wasn't that. I'm exaggerating, but that's what it
Yeah.
feels like. So all of them are positive. The one that blew my mind, just because of how well they had treated us, was when we went to Russia. We had 3 shows in Russia,
Oh wow.
and that was, yeah, they really showed out. I think they were trying to show out because of maybe what was going on in America politically or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, I had never gotten fed so much so often. I was like, we're going to lunch? We're going to dinner? Or didn't we just have lunch? It was so great that they really treated us really great. So
Oh
I've had
man.
just really, I really can't think of a super, I can't think of a bad experience that I've had with Digital Planets. I mean, there's definitely some challenges. I mean, touring sounds uh, glamorous, but maybe the shows sometimes are. But in between, it's work. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
work. It's work.
Bussing and getting everyone on the flight, getting everyone
Yeah,
efficiently to and from the hotels. Like,
yeah. Making sure your gear didn't get lost, all that stuff.
mm.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the coolest aspect when you're traveling with like a big band too, though, is what are some of the big like inspiration moments been like just writing music and just kind of like traveling, seeing the different people and cultures, and how's that really impacted your music? Because you like first off, for all of our listeners, like you have so many genres that you cover, and all of them are fire. Like every song that I've heard from yours is a banger. I'm just like, there you go, turn this up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's it is it's very inspiring and humbling, just to
Mm,
to go from place to place and be able to interface with that community's musicians, be
yeah.
appreciated by them, and see what they're up to. That since they're the local, there's the local scene, like here, and there's it spawned an idea of mine, like like there should be like an Anthony Bourdain style show for music. Like let's
Ooh.
go into communities and like check out what the local musical heroes are doing that you wouldn't know unless you were living there, maybe, or just
Wow.
maybe a little bit outside. It's like, so I've been blown away seeing what some people in their local scenes in different countries are doing, and like, why haven't I heard of this? This is great. This is amazing. Like the last time we were, funny, it's so odd that the last time we were traveling was late 2019, right as the fires in Australia were starting. We played in Australia, like literally in the middle of December when some fires were starting. And but the local musicians in Sydney, and we played Sydney, Perth, and then we played Melbourne, and the musicians there were just like on fire to me, like wow, like so good, like man, it's like how I like definitely made new Spotify lists, like what's going on, like how come, like it's so great. So it is very inspiring. It's good to see that creativity around the world is alive and well, and
Mm.
there's if you're, I don't know, if you're looking, it's findable,
Right? And that's like, there's
yeah.
no better time than really like with everything going on with the lockdowns to really tap back into those creative drives, you know? So for
Yeah.
yourself, what have been some projects that you've been kind of working on during this whole Rona?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I've just kind of gotten back to trying to be creative, like on my own, learning Logic. I used to be a big Reason head, and I'm still love Reason as a software to make music.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to learn a little bit of all of them. So I was like, oh, I've spent years on Reason, and I'm not abandoning it. But I own a Mac. Let's see what Logic's talking about. So, so for the last couple of years, I've been, doing that, and it has gotten me to release a record pretty soon. So I'll be
Okay.
releasing a single pretty soon. I'm thinking on October 19th, I'll have a song called "Easy to Forget" coming out,
Ooh.
that me and Vitamin D worked on. I had
Yo.
some of my friends, so some of my friends play on it. Thaddeus Turner, who's the musical director for Digible Planets, and his brother playing bass as well on this song. in particular that's
Yo.
coming out October 19th. Yep. And then the whole album called Stay Here With Me will drop December 26th, which is my birthday. October 19th, the significance of that is my mother's birthday. So,
Okay.
so yeah, I've really taken the time to get creative, and these things that have been sitting in the hard drive for the last 6, 7 years, like, okay, well, let's get them out into the world. I didn't mean for it to take so long. So it was, like this lockdown has actually been I mean, not creatively, it's been a good time for me to just be grounded, because I didn't realize how much I was running around, chasing money or chasing, it's like, okay, I teach at all these places and I'm running around town to this and that. And it's like, ooh, when it had to stop, it was like, oh, I didn't realize that I was unhappy. Like I was just way better being grounded. Like I was being grounded, and at first I thought teaching from Zoom might be a drag, but it's like, man, this is like, there's just more peace when I'm not ripping and running, and like even the money, even when I couldn't play live, it's like, but I was saving so much in gas money, not running around. Like, jeez. So. I've definitely this time has been a centering. I'm meditating a lot more consistently, and just trying to being creative and trying to and loving myself more.
Well, and simply being. And I think that's something that we get so caught up in, is like, when we're all about that action, it's like, yes, there's a point of life where we need to be in that kind of contracted state, but if we're not doing the relaxing, it's like our lungs, like we're not breathing, we're not actually going to be able to live. So when you have that chance just to take a break and take a breath and just marinate now, it's so important. And I'm like, the moment you said meditation, you had me sold. I was like, this is one of my awesome beings, you could say, best people on the planet right there. Like, you recognize that importance.
Yes, I mean, it gets really deep. Like, I was trying to compare how, the groundedness that I'm feeling, that I, am taking advantage of in this slowdown or whatever, this just transformation that we're going through. And
big transformation.
It's a big, I mean, I really think this is all part of this Age of Aquarius stuff, like, hey.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
There's stuff that's been going a specific way for a while. It's time for it to change, But it's such a trip to be grounded and realize, like, the ripping and running, how much of there was such desperation. It felt like, and there's just such desperation in the chase, and not there yet, I'm almost there, and having being a little bit more grounded and happy where I am, wherever I am, instead of needing to get to that next spot. Is like, your decisions are different,
right?
Decisions made under duress are different than decisions you make while grounded.
Well, it's because it goes into that reaction versus a response. And when you're so focused on not marinating in the moment of right now, and you're always kind of just trying to stay afloat, you're not really just embracing where you're at. And I think that's the thing right there, where it's like, you hit the nail on the head earlier, where it's, we are in this transformational period, and if people aren't aware of that themselves, this really has been a blessing in disguise for a lot of people, because life never gives us what we want, it gives us what we need. Right. So it's like that moment for us just to simply have a forced kind of, hey, chill out, stop, just relax. Yeah. And those that are kind of on that creative vibe and are more like, I guess you'd say, spiritually attuned, it's that moment to really just stop those wheels from spinning and just, I've been doing that. Oh wow. How many recognitions and unfoldments there's been going on this time. It's crazy.
Yes, absolutely. That is exactly how I was feeling. Like, oh my God, I was missing the sanctity of my home. I mean, it's not much, but it's like, oh my God, this is me though. This is me. So yeah, I've been definitely recharging in many areas that I didn't even know were depleted. Some of my energy, I had no idea was so depleted, and that I was unhappy. I thought I was out there getting it, but I was like, no, you were unhappy. You were unhappy, clawing at, stuff, I found a new worth, a deeper worth for myself and just,
Ooh,
my life and where to be coming from and some more
yeah,
stillness, which
yeah.
I thought I was doing, but it's a trip to have it be repeated. No, that's not what you were doing. That's not what you were doing.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's the concept that I always find is really interesting about this is in terms of like you're a teacher, you teach jazz
Mm.
piano for the listeners, and I downloaded your free little giveaway because I'm teaching
Oh,
myself
super
like
cool.
teaching myself piano a little bit more, so I actually know what I'm doing versus just going by the flow. So
Nice,
it's
nice, nice. Thank you.
I'm curious in the sense of like the stillness, how has it changed the way, because you've been kind of like reteaching yourself things. How's it helped you kind of like transition that into actually like teaching others?
Yes. Well, definitely, they're getting the benefit because, there's this, there's a, with the stillness and the groundedness comes that patience and
Mm,
the ability to like really be over there with others because I'm
yeah,
not necessarily so all over the place myself.
yeah.
It's like I can take time and tell others to take their time and remind my students that this is supposed to be fun. Do not use this as another source of stress. Don't do it. If it starts to be that, I tell them to stop. Don't play.
Oh
It's called
wow,
play. It's called playing piano, not stressing piano, not
love
working
that.
piano. It's playing. If it gets fun, go do something else.
Yeah,
Because the
that
stuff
needs to
that's
go to
not fun,
shirt.
you're gonna stop doing it. I mean, I've definitely, as a
True.
musician, I got into this because music is fun, but I made it my
Yeah,
job, and I had this love hate thing, about. It's like, wow, I got
yeah,
into this. This was, where I was hating it sometimes. It's like, well, I just have to reconnect to that I'm doing this as a form of expression that is therapeutic for me, and
mm,
that is fun. And
right.
I wasn't telling my students that before this slowed down so much. I got back to that. I was like, oh my God, yeah. Don't practice if it's like making you mad or frustrated or making you
Mm,
think bad things about yourself, like you're not smart enough or I can't do this. Stop. Let this be fun. You know. So
yeah.
they're definitely reaping the benefits. My students are. This is fun.
Oh,
Take your time. If it's too hard, cut it up into smaller chunks. Make it
yeah.
fun. Take it bite size, and yeah. So yeah.
That's super important because when you think about the concept of life itself, how many people have taken this game, this playground that we've been given, this opportunity, this
Mm,
gift of life, and turn it into
yeah.
something that it's just like an arduous journey that everything's against you and it's just such a painful experience. Like, when did we stop having fun? Like, when did we stop having fun in
Yes.
the society?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I know and we have to remind ourselves, like even us that know, like even I've done workshops and self, like really working on my inner self, and I have
Yeah.
to remind myself, like yes, it's there's hardly it is definitely it can seem a little bit lonely because it seems like the world outside, at least like pop culture, is not pulling
Mm.
for quiet wholeness.
Right,
Let's
right.
let's sit down and just be. Then it's not pulling for that. It's not. Those aren't the messages we're giving. Get out there, get something. If you're not, what are you doing? You're lazy.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I have to remind myself. Don't fall for that. Don't
Well,
fall for
it's
that.
crazy because I think that's like the energetic component to it as well. Because you think of, I mean, so I have like 10 years in childcare education and like child development and teaching classes after school from like 4 to 16-year-olds. And the
Nice.
one thing that I've noticed before, like I went to college and after, was there was such a crazy switch of like failure and success and being really critically disciplined for failure. And and some kids, even then, it's like they made it so crazy that you weren't even allowed to fail. And it's like when you have those types of aspects and gradings and just how they push the test and you have to get in this upper echelon or you're doing really bad. I started
Yeah.
seeing kids having legitimate like panic attacks, anxiety attacks in third grade because I don't know if you remember like those fitness tests everyone had to do in PE where it's like, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, go run some laps. they were like having full blown like breakdowns because of that. And it's like, yo,
Wow.
you're a kid. Like you're in third, you're not even 10, you're not even double digits yet. And you're already stressing like your
Exactly.
50s, like 60s.
Yeah, exactly. Can't even spell stress. Can't even spell stress. Like,
Right.
come on.
And I
What's
think
going
that just
on?
like
Yeah.
it cascades to like everything else, because you think like what you were saying about pop culture, like there's such this false sense of like what it is to be a human being and a successful person. And it's
Mm,
like we
yeah.
took all the fun out of experience and just sucked all the life out of just loving your life and loving yourself. So yo,
Yeah.
it's been beautiful to see that type of transition on all fronts, with people being able to recognize that and tap back in. And again,
Yeah.
like Rona.
Rona, wow. I mean, yeah, I mean, God, I feel very fortunate, not, no one that I know that I've been really close to has you know, had anything really awful health-wise happening. People that I around me are, you know, being really safe and still, how do you be safe and still not be ruled by fear? You know,
Ooh, ooh,
it's
that's a
like, so
deep one.
yeah, I mean, because whatever you're sitting there worrying about, that's what you're attracting to yourself. So, like I want to be living in fear. Like I want to still enjoy life. And well, this is just a new way of looking at it that we weren't, in a way we weren't looking at it before. So, um, but yeah, I don't wish any of the sickness on anyone, whatever this thing is, Rona. But the things that have had us come home, so to speak,
Oh, I love that.
on multiple levels. Yeah, no, it's good. Pay attention to like how sitting at home to be able to really witness how awful sometimes humans can be to one another, and like
Yeah.
be able to you know make some statements about that and have some things move in that area that have never moved in our lifetimes, or have it moved
Yeah,
in the way
yeah,
that they
yeah.
seem to be moving now. I mean, who knows where it's going to end up? I mean, like I said, I think this is definitely some Age of Aquarius stuff
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
Aquarius is the humanitarian, so I think we're just the attention to that is it's it's front and center now. That's
Yeah.
what.
Well, people have been confronted with themselves for the first time largely. You can't get caught up in the distractions of kind of the doing. You're now forced to really reflect and look at the beingness of yourself and kind of how things are
Yeah.
operating internally. And, some things that really stuck out in what you were just saying to me is like that law of attraction and that law of inertia. It's like
Hmm.
I like to
Hmm.
see and say that we're each god and goddesses of creation and manifestation. And
Hmm.
like whatever's going on internally it's literally going to be manifested outside externally.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the things that's been really, I mean, I always say discouraging. And I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean, it's sad to me just because I know the potential of what the human experience can be. But like people that lack this inner development and willingness and courage to really, and ultimately self love to look within and question
Hmm.
themselves, like it's been a really apparent facet of society for those that have been lacking it in terms of not being able to really handle the quote unquote isolation. Like I love my hermit time. I need my hermit time. Like, and I also
Yeah.
need that immersion in nature time, just away from everything. And
Yeah.
so it's one of those things that I find is really kind of, this is the time for people to really tap into that higher power and that higher self within.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can come together better than we have been.
Right. Well, so we can kind of emerge
Yeah.
ourselves, come out of this cave of our own isolation and just like build a
Yeah.
better society and build that, the humanity, that
Yes,
we know
exactly.
that can exist, right?
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
I am incredibly curious about your work with now, Rusty and I, we were all talking about this in the green room, but your work with landmark education and this kind of like internal work and self-mastery kind of aspect. So I know a little bit, but why don't you tell our listeners, because I'm sure this is the first time a lot of them are hearing about this.
Well, I mean, yeah, landmark education. I mean, good Lord. I mean, I've been participating with them off and on since like 1994.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So uh, I would just they have their flagship or their entry level program is called the Landmark Forum. I think, and Russ is a graduate of that as well. And it's just this. It's really just this 3 day and an evening inquiry on exactly what we were talking, some of the things that we were talking about, like
Mm.
what is no one telling you about what it is to be human? Like, what is it to really be human? And I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, well, in '94 when I was just graduating from Cornish College of the Arts. I had got a degree in jazz piano, and
Mhm.
doing the Landmark Forum then made me not be afraid of
Ooh.
the decision I had made to become a musician, because everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're going to be starving artist." And hey, I've been that and have not been that too. Like I've had money and then like, oh my God, where's the next thing coming from? Like, and I've been up
Right.
and down, but doing the Landmark Forum just took a lot of the fear out, just where I could
Mm.
really commit to it and say this, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm not going to have a back door, because if I had a
Ooh.
back door, I would use it. Let's just go full steam ahead. It just gave me that courage to do that,
Yeah. I
and
love
at that
it.
age, I was 20, 23, 24, was you know, it was, it was definitely the jet propulsion that had me go out and really look for what it meant to be a musician, and ultimately start making records and stuff like that. So
Yo, that's
I've
dope.
done a bunch. I mean, I've done a bunch of programs. I would say, without kind of being a commercial, the landmark the landmark forum is just great because you'll hear some of us that have been doing it for a while say that what you get out of the landmark forum is nothing,
Some
but
Buddha, some Buddha shit.
yeah, but less like you've never had nothing before. You've like your life gives you these things, like your heart gets broken and like, oh, I'll never date this type of person again, or I'll
Yeah.
never speak out like that or whatever because this happened, and it's like you've got this chalkboard of these things you'll never do. And to us it's like, oh, that's kind of being smart, like, well, I'm learning these lessons, so let's not do that anymore. It's like, but it's just counter, like you said, it's just counter to what we really tell our children when they're born. You can
Mm.
do and be anything. And somehow as we get older and adults, it's like that field of what we can be and how we can express gets more narrow and narrow and narrow
Yeah.
and narrow and narrow because of these things we've learned about
Yeah.
life. So the Landmark
Mm.
Forum, I think, in 3 days in the evening gives you this opportunity to like take a look at what
Mm.
you've been writing on your board and give you like an eraser. Oh, like I just made this stuff up when that happened and said this
Right?
about life, and then I lived
Right?
like that was the truth for the rest of my life. Like, oh, that was just something I said when I was 4. Oh my God, that's present right now. I said something like a 4-year-old yesterday. Like, but you're not. It's a lot of times we're not even listening to ourselves. It's like the landmark form is
Yeah.
definitely that. Like, just like realize your board is
I
full of
love
stuff.
that.
That's why it's so hard to write in new stuff.
It gives you that
It's so,
pivot. It
yeah,
gives
it
you
gives you like,
that
well,
opportunity. And the
yeah,
loop.
it does. Yes, it's just like here's an eraser. Let's just erase the board, and then now what would you do?
Right.
Now that you have room to
Ooh.
create, what would you create?
And I could see how that could be almost, I mean, that type of freedom can almost be paralyzing for how a lot of people have been conditioned nowadays to always be like told what to do. This is how you should do things. This is what it is. And I feel like we kind of I mean, educational system doesn't really help you in that regards, where it's like always listen to the authority figure, always do what they say. And it's like, but you don't have a space to question it. How do you ever question yourself?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah, it's a deep one. It's a deep one. It's pretty. It's rich. It keeps giving. It's like I know we when you're in a program like that, especially
Hmm.
when you're in a room of like maybe 80 to 100 other people also on that journey, like when people will start to stand up and they'll talk about their lives, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, that happened to me. And it's like you will
Right.
also have whatever breakthrough that they're having. Like, and it's
Yeah.
it's such a trip to just to really get how much we need each other and how much communication with each other transforms us.
Ooh.
I mean, it's such a trip.
That's a line right there.
It's such a trip.
It's beautiful the way you said that too, because I think that's one of the things that, personally I experience it. I try to always tell people, it's like, don't call me like a teacher or a guru or anything like that. Like I heal, but it's also mutual healing, because when we're in the flow, when we're having these types of conversations, we're exchanging pieces of our puzzle. So it's like when I get it, I'm just like, oh, dope. That completes my image a little bit better, and it's vice versa. So it's like, it's this mutual process. And I think that's the one thing that I really hope that when we come out of this kind of like the massive dark night of the soul for humanity right now, that everyone comes back with this being able to not stigmatize suffering and stigmatize pain, because like mental health is like the most detrimental facets of our society right now, and how much we stigmatize it. But it's something that's like, we all suffer from our own creation of the mind and like the past pains of the heart. And when we get on this type of a level and have these types of conversations, I just, again, always hope it inspires people to really just level up. And like what you said, like erase some of that stuff on the chalkboard, like get it detached.
Just wonder why there's no room to create. Wonder why there's no room for something new. Why you can't think of anything new. And at the same time, like you said, it's like people get really confronted when, if you've been carrying around this thing for a while, you've based who you are around you carrying this thing. It's like, it is such a trip to have that thing. Well, I have a choice. I can put this down now. And then it's like, well, then without that, who am I?
Best question there is.
Am I? Who am I? I'm like, oh my God, now that I don't have this, my whole thing was about this thing that I was either complaining about or wishing was different, and I was working on this problem. Oh, what if it just disappeared like that? It is confronting, like, oh my God, I don't even know who I am now. And there's this opportunity to create, right?
I love that though. And I think like it's the coolest way. I haven't heard it said like that. It's like that opportunity to create you, to really discover you. And I think that's one of the things that it comes back to that fear concept. When we get so caught up in fear, like society doesn't help that, the expectations and assumptions of what people should be, is that we create this giant, it's like, I always like to akin it to those movies where you see like this epic shadow with all these gnarly monster voices and they're like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then they turn around, it's like a mouse with a leaf, and they're like, oh, I'm not actually scared of that.
Totally. Yes. Yeah. I mean, a lot of our problems, thankfully, are actually like that, but are not lived or experienced like that. Like it is like, like that fight or flight thing from probably from when, if you went outside, you'd be eaten by an animal or a dinosaur, that flight or flight. But, we're having that fight or flight response in conversations.
Right.
where no one's holding any weapons or really threatening our life, but we're having the sweats and, I'm not going to say that to this person, like it's going to kill them or it's going to kill you. And it really is a real part of being human now. Like that fight or flight response is in areas it doesn't belong.
Oh, I love that. And I think the thing is, we normalize it with words like triggered or, or like trolling or all these other things. And it's like, dude, all they are is projecting their insecurities on you because you threaten them in some way, shape, or form, and now they're fighting, right? Like,
yeah.
Oh, I love the way you said that. That's great.
Awesome.
Well, I'm curious in terms of like this type of kind of self-creation and self-mastery. What do you feel like is kind of the next step for each person to kind of like bring in this age of Aquarius, bring in this new era of transformation and healing? Like if they have already done like that first search of like, who am I? Like, what do I really want? How would you guide people? Loaded question.
How would I guide people? I would go back to play and have fun.
Ooh.
Play and have fun. Rest. Is it a plug for? I follow this Instagram account called the Nap Ministry, which is just so good. Like, you don't need to earn rest. It's your birthright. Like, you're more than enough. The systems that you're in are trash. Like, rest. Right. If you want to create a new world, you're not going to do it stressed. You're not going to do it tired and chasing and grinding. You're going to do it from a place of groundedness. Rest. The new world is coming. You're part of the creating it. Rest. Take a nap. Get out of this capitalist money grab, winners and losers. It has to be a winner, it has to be a loser. Like,
Right.
we can all win, and we're not going to do it while we're stressed and serving that system at the same time. Rest. We need to create something new. Rest. So
Right. And I think you hit the nail on the head, yo. It's like, it's your birthright to enjoy this experience. And I feel like, again, because you're that corporate oligarchy, changing up that 9 to 5, really detaching us and lifting us off the ground, you could say, away from like our roots. It's fascinating just to see like just those simple and subtle switches of just like, getting better sleep, taking a nap, just, maybe stop working when you're feeling stressed and go play something. And just to see how much your
Absolutely.
mind and body just feel like rejuvenated and lighter.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the Nat mystery is big on rest. Rest is a form of resistance and protest. It's like, sit down, sit down, stop grinding. That's just keeping that machine going that you complain about. That's making you tired. That's making you age faster. That's making you treat people crappy. That's making you treat
Right?
people crappy. Lay down. Stop. Yeah. So I would say have fun, and rest, and have humans be important.
Ooh.
Have humans be important. That's really gets lost.
Well, I'm curious too, because you mentioned you had a daughter, and I know in like my teaching experience and just how I see things and like to teach stuff is, we pass on that. Obviously we pass on our physical genetic information, to the children, to the next generations, but we also pass on that emotional and mental stuff. So like raising a child in this environment, how has it been just kind of like really giving them the tools to be self-empowered and just like self-loving, considering there's way more hostility than like I feel like ever before?
For my daughter, her name is Luna. She's 12, and I guess I just want to make it that she feels comfortable being whoever she is.
Yeah.
Like, and that
Mm.
that she can talk to me about just about anything. I'll joke with her uh, about whatever, like things she's talking about with her friends, or even things that I maybe that I think was going on for me around that age.
Yeah.
Um, just to take some of the charges of ooh, that's bad, or
Ooh.
or I shouldn't talk about that, or I shouldn't be that way. Like, no, you can be whatever way, and you have someone in your life who wants you to be that way. Like, if you're
Powerful.
gonna yeah, if you're gonna like mess up something or make mistakes, do it while someone's still calling you for dinner. Like, someone that so, this is the time to make those mistakes. Like, because we'll definitely help you clean it up. Like, because I don't know, because it, it just flies in the face of such judgmental parenting, and I want my
Yeah.
child to be perfect, and no, just let's hang out. Like, we got this world to make whatever we want to make out of it, and
Yeah.
let's have fun. Let's relax. Let's not have this be stressful. That's kind of that's like my little motto, I guess. Let's not have this whole,
Yo.
like you're saying, we have this whole planet. This could be a paradise instead of some sort of dystopia. This
Hmm. Oh,
could really be
facts.
paradise. And it really starts in our minds. It really does.
Yeah. Well, because
Uh,
that's the first place that starts the projection. It's just like whatever comes is like happening in here, and like whether you're misperceiving something or mishearing someone, it's like if you're not going to ask a question to confirm your knowing, then what are you doing?
yeah,
Like you're just
yeah,
acting a fool in my eyes. But we got to dance our dance till we know, right?
yeah, yeah. So like I said, I try to make light of things that might be heavy for other parents, and I do run the
Mm,
risk sometimes of being too nonchalant.
mm.
But I mean, like I said, I meant more that's perception. Some might people's perception of me. I run that risk of, but
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if whatever messes I make, I try to clean them up. I
Well,
clean
I
them
love how
up.
you said that. Like, if you're gonna make a mistake, do it with someone still calling you for dinner. Like, because that's kind of how
Eggs.
my life went. Like, a lot of mistakes in those early years, and it's kind of put
Yeah.
me on that trajectory of really just like self-resilience, independence, and really just kind of knowing myself. And I think
Hmm.
that's kind of the thing that's always really sad when you see parents try to make mini me's and like force children into this mold, because we're seeing that manifest right now of all these people that can't handle that time of just being with themselves, because it's like
Yeah.
that fear, that fight or flight response, like how are they going to go in life?
Yeah, and it could be, and me being this way now, it could be. I mean, not. I'm saying could be, but it most definitely was. I mean, I was, I grew up in a very, very strict. I wouldn't say strict, but like
That old
very.
school, that's how we call it.
Yeah,
That's what I was raised in.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So I was definitely sheltered in my own opinion. I was sheltered early on, and
Interesting.
didn't know that. I mean, it took me a while to realize that I wasn't really able to color outside of the lines. Like I didn't even know
Mm,
there was an outside of the lines for a good long time. Like
yeah.
um, I think it's so funny being a musician now because
Right. I was gonna say.
because I was 9 years old before I was really uh, exposed to non-gospel music.
Really?
Like in
Okay.
in
Yeah.
our house
Yeah.
was just gospel records, which is some
Yeah.
beautiful, gorgeous music, and it was definitely gave me a foundation that I appreciate for my ears.
In your beautiful
But
voice, like.
thanks. But it was like I was 9 before it's like, oh, this is R&B. Oh my God, this is amazing.
This is my jam. Like,
Yeah, I remember. I have this super funny memory. I spent the night at my two aunties apartment. They had moved out from my grandma's house. My mom is one of 9 children. I'm an only child. So I spent the night at my two aunties' house, and like in the house is mainly, it's my grandma's house, so she's very, a devout Christian, like,
yeah, yeah.
um, and not some sort of authoritarian either. She was like very gracious, just like a really beautiful human. That this is the way I believe, and you get to do what you want, But if you ask me, I'm going to
Love
give you
it.
my. But if you ask me, I'm going to give you my opinion. But
Right.
I'm not going to like interject it if you don't ask me. So that's rare. Like that's
Yeah, that's
rare.
grace right
Someone
there.
that really could be self-righteous or
Yeah.
over righteous, but she was not that. I didn't. She's my grandma, but so I didn't experience her like that, and other people experienced her that way as well. But digressing. So I'm, I'm at my two aunties' house, and they must have left for the store and left me asleep. And I woke
Okay.
up and I was like, I wasn't scared. So I know, they're going to come back. But I woke up and got into their record collection. Since we weren't at grandma's house, I got into their record collection, and I see this guy in a diaper climbing out of a spaceship on the cover of a Parliament record.
Love
So,
it.
like, oh my God, what am I, like 7? And I put the record on, and it was like the best thing I'd ever heard in my life. I was like, oh my God, I was having so much fun that I got afraid. And I took the record off
Ooh.
and went back to sleep like I was going to get in trouble.
Stone voice.
It was just too good.
Yo, that's so fascinating. That's I feel the kid responds to though, just like outside the lines, and what it creates, that
Yes, like,
reaction.
what have I done? Oh my God. It's hilarious. So, I mean, I think a part of me raising my daughter with kind of like a way more relaxed and um, just like let's let it all hang out. I want to know who you are. There
Yeah.
was a lot of me that didn't get to be expressed in that environment,
Mm,
and I did grow up with opinions different from that, and felt like that I couldn't talk to anyone about it without seeming like I was a heretic or something,
Blasphemer.
Yes, I mean, and don't get it twisted. I wasn't like abused or anything, or like in fear, but it's like I definitely had some things to say about
Yeah.
that culture at the time that I felt like I really couldn't say like that. That's gonna completely meet with a bunch of opposition, or you
Yeah.
should think that way, or so.
I feel that.
Yeah, and I
No, I feel
as
that.
as an older human, I mean, I can take responsibility for that. I mean, that's like I said, it's just the systems within what people grew up with, like what they were
Yeah.
thinking is right. I totally get every single, like my mother and my grandma, they love me to pieces,
Yeah.
like, they love me, and they were literally giving me the best that they thought they had to offer.
Ooh.
They were, and that was the best for that was. That was pure love, as far as they knew. But
It
I
was
just
that capacity
yeah.
of their love and their understanding. I think that's a fascinating thing, like seeing the different generations, because my eldest brother, born like the 70s, and you have me, like like 30 years apart, like some odd like that and some change, but it's like or 20 years apart now that I think about it. So it's or less than that actually. I don't want to make him seem I don't want to make him seem too old, but like
I was aware that there would be no math.
it's like, oh, but it's one of those things now where I'm thinking about it, and it's just like, I think what you said earlier really is important, because it's that aspect of communication and just being able to feel that you are in a safer space or an open environment where your opinion and your thoughts and like your internal stuff isn't going to be received in a conflicting or combative manner rather. And I think that's something that's so important, like, because we look at everything going on right now, is Ed, how many people can't even speak their truth without getting just bashed? How many people are really trying to express themselves without it being like a warring situation? It's like, to heal
Yeah,
this place and to heal ourselves, like, it's love, man. It's love.
yeah,
It has to be love.
yeah. Right.
Like
Yes.
unconditional love, just like, I want you to express yourself and I'm gonna hear it, even if I don't agree with it, I'm still gonna listen to you, and then I'm gonna share my opinion, and then we can talk and build a bridge. Right?
Yeah, something like that. Yes. Yes. I love that. Yeah, and that's totally the world that I want my daughter to have exist. And I want her
Yeah.
to trust herself. Like I wanted to, like, she's gonna have her own thoughts, and I wanted her to be able to trust her own thoughts. Like I definitely second guessed a lot. A-
Same, man.
Often just second guess, like, like this is what I think, but this is how it's working for these people, and they say that this is how it really should be, and then but like, oh, I'm thinking different though. But like, so there was a lot of self-doubt, and not really a place to really lay it out there for someone to really like massage it into something that I could trust, like I don't know,
Ooh.
so it's even taken a lot, it's taken a while to even recognize that that's what that was, that so some sort of lack of self-trust that,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah.
it's funny you say that, the self-trust, because I always find that like a common thread that I feel like almost, I want to say every person has to deal with it at some like varying degree, but it's lack of self-worth. And it comes with that, like, you
Mhm.
don't trust yourself in a certain ways. Because I know for myself in a lot of ways, I guess you would say I've always been pretty boastful about my opinions, and it's been met with very combative forces in a lot of my
Mhm.
upbringing. But it's one of those things where I know that it caused me to always kind of question things, and it kind of did dissolve some relationships that have had to get rebuilt and established in a different level, because, like, when you don't feel like your voice is valued, when you don't feel like your opinion's heard or your perspectives
Mhm.
like understood, it causes so much inner dwelling and rumination that if you're not
Mhm.
really rooted in something, more pure, like a creative expression or like a sport, really a form of meditation, as I like to call it, that you just kind of get lost by the wayside. And that's when, like, I feel like we get all this like mental health issues and all this kind of like the darker
Mhm. Mhm.
aspects of life that come up. So you're
Yeah.
doing the work, man. Passing that beautiful torch
Man,
of love.
sometimes, yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Yeah. Ultimately, I just try to. I don't know. I want her to express what she's got going on for her, and not feel like that I'm trying to change that. That I really just
Yeah.
want to hear. Just so like I don't want to wag the finger at her. It's just
Well, just being
but
able to
the
have that relationship and being able to actually have that, like, that vulnerability for that
yeah.
opportunity to heal, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, who know? I mean, I can't remember what it was like to be a teenager. Like, I can't imagine,
Nothing
and
like we
especially
ever
now,
experienced. Right.
and now, like, wow, like all of a sudden she's having to do all classes on Zoom, and I mean, my daughter's kind of a homebody though. She likes, you know,
Chilling, just
her time.
coasting.
Yeah, she likes chilling. Yeah, she's one of those kids for me that cheers me on. I used to get excited always about going out to dinner. It was always better. It's not so
Yeah.
for my daughter. She's like, like that's far. Where are we going? What? No, let's bring it back home. I mean, and I've definitely grown to appreciate that. I'm like, oh wow, that's so not how I was like trying to let's go to McDonald's and let's go to that. I was like, no, no.
Yeah,
My,
yeah.
my daughter's like, no, that's too far. Let's what's close and what can we cook it here? I'm like, okay,
Right.
cool. That works for me too.
That's awesome. And I think it's cool when you think about it, like being able to pass that self-resilience and kind of like that independence to, again, like ultimately, like we say, like trust ourselves and really have that courage to speak your mind, but it's like just really just self-appreciation. That's so important
Yeah,
nowadays. And like what you were saying
yeah,
earlier, it's like self-love in that sense of really taking a break and a pause to reevaluate things if you're really playing and loving life.
yeah, yeah,
I love it.
yeah. Have it be important. Have it be important to feel good.
Like I think it's really
Yeah.
interesting, like that reaction you had to listening to the record is that it was like like
Right.
like this is too much fun.
Right. Exactly. I know. Isn't that is such a weird thing? I mean, I'm glad to notice that, in the last
Yeah.
few, last years in my life, been able to like see that, oh, I have some caps on how great life could be.
Self-imposed, like
Yeah, it's time to take the caps off. Let us get scared about how good it is. Let's get scared, but not stop. I would, before I would stop, like, oh my God, this is
yeah.
this is too great. I gotta go. I gotta go do penance or something.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So
gosh.
yeah, it is good to be. It is good to be aware that that's what the universe wants us to do is feel great and enjoy this
Yeah.
experience and have others feel great.
Right. Well, you are life itself. And that's the thing that I feel like when we get to this point where we somehow like take our universal connection and bring it to this like confining it with this form and just recognize it's just you experiencing this. It's just you and you. I feel like that's when like we're wagging the finger at ourselves internally.
Mm,
You know what I
mhm.
mean?
I
Oh,
do. I do. Yes, there's so much more freedom to be had. I mean, like, yeah, there just is.
well, like how do people tell themselves like, oh, I can't do that? It's like, why? Like, oh, I
Right?
can't. I wish I could go on things like that. I wish I could go do trips like that. It's like, what do you mean you wish? Why not?
Why not? What's stopping you? Yeah,
The
mostly,
divine
and
question.
yeah, I mean, and and a kind of all-encompassing answer, but not like getting into the nitty-gritty of it is most, all stuff from the past, and
Mm,
mostly stuff that we were born into and didn't create.
right?
It's just been sitting there. That's just there when we got here about what we can and can't do.
Yeah. Those
It's great to
conditionings.
like to yeah, it's great to have things like the landmark form or meditation that gets you in touch with that creative, or even the arts that get you in
Right.
touch with that you're creating this moment by moment. Sure, you can sail and on what was here when you got here, but doesn't allow for the genius that could be.
Mhm. I'm just curious, like, how do you feel about like people becoming desensitized to like that energetic connection that we have with each other? Because I feel like unless you're in like an environment where you are in like a musical setting or like an art setting or even like a sports setting where you can feel the atmosphere, you can feel the electricity in the air. Like, how do we really kind of hone that so we can really just connect on those deeper levels of the heart with people?
That is a good question, and I think different people do it differently. I mean, a slowing
Yeah.
down has been what it's been for me. That helps.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, just and For some, it just depends where they are and how they're being desensitized. Because sometimes, like I said, for me, the breakthrough was like the slow down and the grounding. Some people who may have cut themselves off might find something as far as the expansion of energy in stepping out a little bit and connecting.
Ooh.
You know,
Yeah,
it just I don't, yeah. So
and that's the funniest thing right there is when we do put ourselves in that position where we do it and we just don't kind of hold ourselves back with that expectation. It's like, how many times have people, like, what is the saying? Like, you miss every shot you don't take. Like, how many times do people really like miss those opportunities that life's just like, in reality, neon light sign, like go right there. And you're just like, no, I won't. I'll keep my head down.
Oh yes, 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 yes. Yes, it is good to know that that's probably the case most of the time. To just that's what helps keep me taking the next step, because it's like, oh, looking at what's sometimes it's like you can't see what's possible. Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny because you mentioned that you're a Capricorn, I'm a Libra, and I find one of the things that like
this is your season.
Yeah, exactly, and it's the time from transformation, but it's also that for me, it's always that reminder of like, for me, I've always felt like my most important lesson, kind of like gift to the world, is bringing harmony and balance to people's life when they really want it. Because you can't force that stuff on people. If they want to tip the scale, they're going to tip the scale, and you're just going to be fighting on that seesaw if you try to go the other way with them. But it's like, I'm just all about that perfect harmony of that contraction and relaxation, that being and the doing. And I find that this is something that's really cool because, I mean, I meet people like you, I hear your stories, I hear your inspirations and insights, and it's like, oh, like, this just levels me up and makes me stronger to maintain that harmony even more. Like, how to listen to my own internal stuff. Like, everyone has those tensions, but it's really, having an ear for it and being able to recognize and take that breath and that break, and just to really just marinate in what you're doing, or as you said, to act if you need to.
I'm going to pop in.
Yeah.
What up,
I'm
Rusty?
back.
How's it going?
What's happening?
Well, I was just feeling what Peter was putting down about how I'm leveling up here, and just looking at my notes here. I love what I do. I love it so much, and this is so much fun. I really feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose, and and my purpose, I've just kind of come to discover, is to help people feel better about themselves. And but in order to transmit that, I got to feel better about myself. I can't give away something I don't have.
Right. Facts.
And so being producer, the reason why I love being producer is I get to absorb all of this information on a regular basis. Like
that's fun.
And so it is fun, and it's enlightening, and I'm just blessed to have followed my bliss, because as you said, there's so easy to get stopped on anything. We can look for reasons to get stopped for anything. Anything can stop us if we allow it to, right? Yeah. It's breaking through the obstacles that are perceived in our mind over what we can or cannot do. We have our own limitations. We set our own boundaries. And I have to say, Landmark helped me expand my boundaries, almost to a point where they're unpertainable. Like, I don't even know where my boundary is anymore.
I get that. I can.
It's infinite possibilities if you allow it.
Yeah.
Whew. And I would say what the most important, I guess, I took away from this was the rest. When you said rest is important. We have a sister show called Live by Heart Today, in which they talk a lot about how important rest is for our nervous system. We have a sympathetic mode and we have a parasympathetic mode. And the sympathetic mode is when we're in the fight, flight, or freeze. And when we do that, our that's when we're in a stress mode, and it's really hard to think straight in that moment when we're in that. And when we are in the parasympathetic mode, when we're in the relaxed state of mind, because the fight, flight, and freeze opposite is rest and digest.
Mm.
And we're in the rest and digest mode, everything's functioning properly. Everything's
so
going
interesting.
smoothly. And not only that, we're able to think clearly. We're able to make, I would say, better decisions based
Yes.
upon
Yes.
what's actually happening versus what
Yeah.
we perceived is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah,
that,
even what we
Go
would like, even when we're resting, we can actually make decisions based on what we actually do want to have happen. Because when we're not rested, we're usually trying to our actions are based on what we hope doesn't happen.
Ooh.
Yeah, a lot of times
Ooh.
when we're not rested, we're like
Yeah.
really just playing not to lose instead of really playing to win.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you think about like, oh, I hope this doesn't happen right now. I don't have the energy for
Yeah.
this. Oh, I hope that doesn't happen. I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with
It's like,
that.
well, let me hurry up and get this because if I don't, something bad will happen instead of an action grounded in what you want to have happen.
Yo, I love that. I love that. This is why I love this show, because it's like it brings. I always say like meditation is digestion for the soul, but even just hearing that it's that opposite with aligned with the rest, I'm like, and it's the being to the doing. I'm like,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
another insight is that resting is an action word.
It sure is.
right.
It sure is. Yes, it is.
I love it.
And that's taken a little while for me to accept, because to me, resting is doing nothing. And so and that was my old state of mind. But I'm beginning to realize, resting is me planning my next move. It's me meditating, and I would say even reflecting on, what's happened, where am I going? And so, and that's what meditation is, of course. Meditation is reflecting, right?
Yeah, two sides of the same coin.
But if we never take the time to stop and reflect, oh my gosh.
Eating and never going to the bathroom, but just always eating.
Ouch. That does bring it home there.
That
does bring it home. That brings it home there.
And rest is not, I've also discovered rest is not sitting in front of the TV watching more drama.
Right.
Facts. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So I would say that's an important takeaway for me, is a reminder of how important resting is for our soul. Yeah. And it's just like working out, like if I went to the gym every day, my muscles would never have time to heal. They never have time to actually grow. They just constantly be torn down, constantly tearing down, and it would actually be anti-productive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So before we end our show, are there any last comments for either one of you?
For me, just thank you for having me on this. This is super special that something like this exists, for people to just come and just be real with one another and just let it all hang out and just like have it all be allowable. Like there's not enough of this for people to engage in, it's really special. Thank you guys for doing this.
Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, real recognizes real. So always appreciate it, brother.
Peter, you got any closing comments?
That's it right there. Real recognizes real. Like the vibe is there, and I think I'm very excited for people to hear your wisdom on not only rest but parenting, and just the importance of the process of inner looking and just giving yourself what you need, not what someone's telling you. Yeah. So beautiful.
Thank you again, Darrius, for being a part of Creatives Chat. We look forward to your album coming out December 6th. His first single is being
26th.
Sorry, 26th. December 26th is his birthday. And Easy to Forget, his single, is dropping October 19th. And for our viewers, as you find and connect to your deeper passions, Your dedication will lead to mastery, and your mastery will lead to success and satisfaction. Thank you for taking this journey with us. And until next week, have a happy always.
Oh, yeah.
That concludes this episode of Creatives Chat. Thank you for watching. Join us every Thursday at 3:33 p.m. Pacific Daily Time as creative minds get together and chat about who knows what. View more episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again to our sponsors for making this show possible.